What's going on, everyone? It's Yasser back with another video. Today we are going to be talking about how you can get employed, how you can get interviews even if there are more qualified candidates applying for the same role. Okay, we're going to talk all about this in this video. Again, my name is Yasser. This channel is all about career advice. I help people land job interviews. That's my specialty. If you are interested in checking out some of the results that I've gotten from my clients, check that out in the description. But let's move on over to today's topic, okay? I want to talk about this because it's probably one of the most common things that job seekers will assume about themselves. And this is a very, very key word I want to highlight right at the start of this conversation. There might be a lot of reasons if you're applying for a job that you're not getting a response. Maybe you're using a resume and you're not getting a reply. Maybe you're sending out a lot of networking messages and you're not getting a reply. It's not always because you don't have enough experience. It's not always because someone else with more experience got it. But I understand why. Because for a lot of people applying, they don't really know why they're not getting a response. So they assume that, okay, if a job description said that they require 1 to 2 years of experience and I only have 1.5, or maybe I only have 1, that's why I'm not getting the job. I'm not getting the job because someone else has more experience. Now, this is not always the case, and it's such a common belief, so I really want to tackle this right away. And I've talked about this in a previous conversation as well. A lot of times, hiring decisions aren't just made about experience, okay? As a recruitment specialist in the past, I can tell you there have been times where the most qualified, in fact, a lot of times where the most qualified candidate wasn't selected because they were either not the best company fit, okay? This might be a bunch of different things, or they just didn't get along with the team as well as other people who are applying for the same role as well. I'll give you an example. One time I was hiring a role for an HRIS specialist role, okay? It focuses on HR metrics and whatnot. And even though we had a lot of candidates who were a lot more experienced with the software they were looking for, the candidate we ended up going with was the one who looked at that role as a stepping stone for her. And she was very enthusiastic about working with that company. That's why they hired her, even though she had less experience. And sometimes companies, they don't hire people with more experience because they're afraid if they come onto the role, they're going to want a promotion pretty fast. Okay, sometimes they want someone who's going to come to this role almost like it's a promotion for them. They're going to stick around that role. They're going to learn a lot on that role, and they're not going to want to move on in the next 6 months. With people who have more experience who are perhaps making a lateral move, that can be a concern. The other thing is the company fit and the trust. People really underestimate this, okay? Think about it like this. If employers are hiring someone, yes, you can do the job great, but if you're someone no one gets along with, if you're someone no one on the team likes, why would they want to hire you and have you on the team every single day? Right? So up until a certain point, yes, your experience is important as long as you're meeting the basic requirements or some of the requirements they're looking for. As long as you meet them, after that, all of the shortlisted candidates are kind of on the same playing field, okay? Depending, maybe someone has a little bit more experience than someone else, just a tad bit. There's usually at least one interview in the round that focuses more on the company fit, that focuses on what are you like as a person, what are you like to work with. And oftentimes, that is the differentiating factor between who gets hired and who doesn't get hired. So if you're assuming because you're applying and you're not hearing back is because of a lack of experience, unless you have confirmation that it's the experience, do not assume this, okay? Because I've seen people assume it's a lack of experience. They'll go out, do a bunch of volunteer work, come back, and they're in the exact same problem. Unless you know for a fact, don't make assumptions about why something isn't working, okay? Always try to look for the logical conclusion. And I understand this. You have nothing else to work with. You apply with your resume, you're not getting a response. The default thing your mind goes to is it's probably because there are other people who are more qualified. Now, another reason this is perpetuated is because when recruiters turn someone down, suppose you've applied and you've gotten a rejection email, Probably the most standard rejection email you will get is, hey, thank you so much for your application. We have decided to move forward with someone who had more experience, right? Have you received that before? I know I have received that. And to be honest, 95% of these emails are they're automated, okay? Everyone has a template where everyone who gets rejected, you just select all of those people, hit a button, and all of them get the same email. So don't take that to heart. Don't think, oh my God, the recruiter said it's a lack of my experience, that's why. Unless the recruiter has spoken to you over the phone and they've actually talked to you about your experience and then they've said we move forward with another candidate, even then, for legal reasons, recruiters tend not to give feedback unless the hiring managers want to. Sometimes they just don't have the time. So this whole experience thing gets even more perpetuated where people are like, I don't have enough experience. I can't really do this, okay? The other thing I want to talk about is the likability factor. We talked about company fit. I gave this example in the past. Suppose you're hiring a babysitter, okay? You're hiring someone to take care of your kid while you're going on vacation. You have your neighbor's kid. Her name is Sally, and she's 15 years old, and she's done babysitting for 6 of the neighbors, okay? And she's a student. She goes to college, whatever. Well, no one goes to college at 15. She goes to high school. You know what I mean? And you're going away, so you want to hire someone to take care of your kid. And then you go online and you look at all these different these nannies, and they have their websites, or maybe they've got their posts on Craigslist and they have 15 years, 20 years of experience, but you don't really know how much they charge, and you don't really know anything about them other than that they are experienced in what they do. Are you going to really take the time to scour through the internet, find competitors, find people who have more experience, find people and then find their pricing and how much they charge and whether they're trustworthy, have a phone call with them and to figure it out if it's a good fit? Or will you just hire Sally down the road who you know personally? You're probably going to go with Sally. Why do you want to do all that extra work to find someone when you don't need to, when you know someone perfectly capable can do the same job even if they don't have the experience? So a lot of employers think the same way. Hiring is a very expensive process, okay? They don't need to go out in the market, put up job ads, which cost money, wait a bunch of time to get all these applications, have someone go through all those applications, set up a bunch of interviews, do a bunch of interviews, and do all the HR work that goes preparing an offer and whatnot. All that takes a lot of time, and time is money, and then a lot of money goes into finding people as well, especially if these people are working with an agency or an HR agency to help them find roles. So if they know someone who they like, who would be a good fit, even if they don't have the most amount of experience, they will hire them in. And this happens more times than you think, a lot more times than you think. And I hope I've made a logical case for you. So this whole thing about I'm not getting a job because of my experience, don't assume it unless you know. Now, there are conditions where this might be true. Maybe you're applying for a job that says 3 to 5 years of experience and you have 1 year of experience. Not going to work. They're looking for someone who can hit the ground running. If you simply cannot perform the action, how are they going to know that you can join the company and right away get to work? Because some roles are hiring urgently. They want to make sure someone joins the team and knows what they're doing and can get to work right away. They don't want to train someone for 2 or 3 months to just get going. So sometimes, even though it says 3 to 5 years of experience, there might be some leeway to that, but a lot of times when you're looking at more senior roles, they're looking for someone tenured. They're looking for someone who has experience. This is not always the case, okay? Sometimes you'll have a preferred requirement or a mandatory requirement. So you'll have prerequisite requirements that are like minimum of 2 years is a requirement, or it'll say 2 years of experience preferred. The preferred you can get away with. If it says required and you have got 0 work experience, it might be tougher for you to make the case. Now, here's the exception. Here's the way around it, okay? You have a job opening, and suppose you're not the most qualified candidate, okay? You're applying for a role that requires a year and a half or 2 years of experience, and you've never worked before, but you have a bunch of extracurricular activities that you've done that technically counts as experience. How can you make the case for yourself that you get hired and not someone with more experience? Now, this is when we go back to the babysitting example, okay? Suppose everyone who's applying online is similar to all of the websites of more qualified people, right? Or the nanny websites, the Craigslist, wherever you find nannies. I don't know. I'm not a nanny expert. But think about it like this. if you network and you talk to hiring managers, you talk to people who might be your future bosses, your potential bosses, you talk to them, or you talk to your potential colleagues in companies you want to work at. So for example, you want to work at Microsoft, and actually one of my clients wants to work at Microsoft, and he did exactly this strategy to get a meeting with someone from Microsoft and to get a meeting with someone from Twitch. This was the strategy. You find the team that they want to work at, okay? The team you want to work at. You find who's making decisions here. If you're looking for a accounting role, I keep going back to accounting. I don't know why. It's just it comes to me. Let's switch up the example. If you want to go into marketing, okay, you're gonna find who is in the marketing department, who's on the marketing team. You'll find the marketing manager. You'll find the marketing specialist. You'll find the marketing coordinator. If there is someone who's hiring for a role, suppose there's a role open in the company, it's probably going to report to someone senior, probably the marketing manager, and you'll be reporting to either the marketing manager or the marketing specialist, and maybe you'll be working alongside the marketing coordinators, right? What you want to do is you want to be that person that the marketing manager knows and trusts, so that they don't have to go over the 300 resumes, or they don't have to tell HR to go over 300 resumes, so that they prefer you, okay? How do you do that? If a job posting is open, instead of applying and being one of 200 to 300 people who apply to an average job posting, you skip that process. You send an email or you send a LinkedIn request with a message to these hiring managers, these people you want to work with, and just ask them for advice. Don't say anything about I want a job. Don't say anything about, hey, here's my resume. Just say, listen, I love what you're doing at ABC Company. You're a marketing manager. I'm someone who's currently exploring careers in marketing. Your advice would be immensely helpful to me. If you have a couple of minutes to talk, I would really appreciate it. It's got nothing to do with give me a job, do me a favor, give me a referral. It's all take. Instead, what you're doing is you're almost praising them. Well, you are praising them. You're saying, listen, you're the expert. I love what you're doing. I just like your advice. I just want to know how you got into your industry. I admire the work you do. I want to learn more about it so I can navigate my career there. Now, suppose you do this, and depending on your response rate, sometimes they respond, sometimes they don't. If they do respond and you do get on a phone call with them, you have a conversation with them about what do you do on a daily basis? What are some things you're looking for in a good company fit? What does this company look for in terms of skill requirements, team requirements? What's something I could be doing right now to prepare myself for this role? You start doing this, you start asking these smart questions. In their mind, they will connect the dots that this person is asking all these questions because obviously they're very interested in the company. They're interested in the role. I've told them everything I'm doing on a daily basis, and they're liking all the things that I'm telling them. I know that I'm hiring for a role right now. And if they are talking to you and you're asking smart questions and they like the questions you're asking, they like what you're all about, they like your energy, they're going to ask you questions like, well, tell me a little bit about yourself. What kind of experience do you have? Well, tell me a little bit about why you're interested in marketing. Have you used Facebook ads before? Have you used Google ads before? Have you ever made a landing page before? Have you ever done SEO work before? Subconsciously, they will start asking you questions according to what they're looking for in the job description. Now, this is assuming that based on the conversation so far, you've had good rapport, they'll like you, and when they're asking you these questions, it's because they're genuinely interested. They like you and they think, wow, this person's reached out to me. Let me ask them all these questions to see if they might be a good fit for the role I'm hiring for. And I can give you a great example. I'm working with a student right now who's trying to get a job for one of these really, really big top tier universities here in Canada. And he doesn't really come from a university that's particularly high rated, right? This university has a reputation for hiring internally or hiring based on referral. So if you apply online, you can get hired, but it's a pretty dark shot of getting hired. So this person was like, well, I don't have the experience. How would I get in? We did all this smart networking strategy that I'm telling you. He got on the phone with the hiring manager. The hiring manager absolutely loved him. She said, listen, I'm so happy you reached out to me based on this conversation. You're telling me you have experience with all these things. I think you should go ahead and apply and let me know when you do. Okay? If he had just gone the normal route of applying online and competing against all these people who've also applied online who have more experience, he would never have developed that trust. He would never have developed that relationship with the person who makes the hiring decision. Okay, this is the importance of networking. I cannot state it enough. If you are trying to get into a competitive industry, if you are trying to get into a role which is very, very high in demand, and you don't think you have the most experience, or you don't think your resume is doing the most justice that you need it to do, you need to go the networking route, because you're going to need to explain to them by talking to them how you're a good fit. Maybe not in the experience terms, maybe you have enough experience, but you might be a really good company fit. Maybe they might really like your enthusiasm. All these different things can only happen when you actually talk to people, okay? So that's what I want you to do. If you are trying to get employed despite several more qualified people in the market, I want you to go through the networking route, okay? Because if you do it through the resume route, again, you're going to be competing against 200, 250 people. You might not be the most qualified. And unfortunately, on the resume, it's all on a qualification basis. There's nothing that builds trust with the employer based on a resume. There's nothing that you can portray. You can't have a conversation through a resume, right? So it's either you are the most experienced, or one of the most experienced, or one of the most relevant experience for the role, and then you'll get called through the resume, or you can go the networking route, especially right now in COVID-19 situation where the competition is crazy. Networking is going to be your best friend, okay? Now, these are the exact tactics that I've used for my clients. If you want to check out the results I've gotten from them, check it out in the description. I have a full PDF with all of the client results that I've gotten in the past. I do run a program called the Job Search Accelerator. It is an application-only program, meaning if you want to apply to work with me, you can find the link for that in the description as well. I only work with people who are looking for full-time jobs, who are serious about their job search. So if that's you, make sure to check that out in the description. Again, I hope you got some value out of it. I cannot stress this enough. Don't make assumptions about your job search. Really try to rely on facts and do everything you possibly can to stand out, and that will be to focus not just on your online applications, but really go out there, start talking to more decision makers, okay? I hope you got value out of this video. If you did, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and if you'd like to see more videos, let me know in the comment section. What do you want me to talk about next? Because I love talking to you guys. I love sharing this information. Let me know in the comments what you'd like to see, and I'll make more videos. Up until then, take care of yourself. Bye-bye.